Morning.
Morning.
Today's a special day. 40 years ago, 1977. Do you remember much about that year? I've got a few facts to kind of bring you back to today. 1977 was the year that Jimmy Carter was sworn in as the 39th President of the United States. Elvis Presley actually died of a sudden heart attack at the age of 42 in that year. In 1977, Rocky and Saturday Night Fever were the top movies of the year. Gasoline was only 65 cents a gallon. Remember those days. And on August the 28th, the members of the First Church of God, at that time located on Queen Street, made a trek from that location to this location. Many of those people walked from that church to this church to begin a new church here at this location. So it's been almost exactly 40 years, well, actually a little over 40 years ago now, that trek took place from those people coming up here.
Yay!
Thank you, Cecil. And then at 2 o'clock that afternoon, they started the service down there, made the walk up here, came into this building here, and sat where you're sitting now and had their first service, completed the service they'd started there. And then at 2 o'clock that afternoon, they had another big service, a huge big choir. They had to set chairs up. You'll hear more about that later. But there were almost 1,000 people for that very first service sitting where you're sitting right now. So we filled this thing up for that first service at 2 o'clock that afternoon. And again, that's 40 years ago. And then on September the 18th, which is almost exactly 40 years ago to the date, we had a dedication service. That's the day that they actually had a service to dedicate this building to the Lord. And so that was 40 years ago today. And that's one reason we're doing that on this day to commemorate that. So I wanted to ask, if you were part of the church in 1977, if you would stand, we would appreciate that. If we see some here that were here in 1977, I see some standing up here. Good representation. Very good. Thank you guys. You may be seated. I know that we currently have, at the time this building was built, there was a building committee, a search committee, and I know to the best of our research, 3 of those people are still attending church here. Raymond Stevens, Don Cassidy, and Harold Staten were all part of that committee that was overseeing the building committee as well as finding this location. So we appreciate them still being here. But for myself and the rest of us that will remain seated, I want to say a huge thank you to those folks that had the vision, the perseverance, and the faith to step out of that congregation they were currently in. I'm sure it was comfortable, but they saw in Montgomery County there were a lot of unsaved souls. They needed more capacity. They needed more room. They came out to this particular place. And remember, this was just a farm out on Camargo Road. So they had to have that vision to understand this was a place that they wanted to start. The bypass wasn't even here. So that was a stretch to come out here. But they came out here 40 years ago and started building this church in 76. And then in 77 it was completed. So we appreciate those folks for doing that. Now, last week we had another little special occasion. Raymond Stevens and Pastor John and Earl Whitaker came out here and removed this cornerstone that was in the corner of this, on this side of the building. And there was a time capsule that had been placed in there. And so they took all of that information out. This morning, we took that packet. It had not been opened to the Heritage class. And that the contents was opened, and it's on display out here. You'll see some of the stuff that was put into that time capsule. We are going to be looking at putting some stuff back in there and putting it back into the slot. And maybe in the next 40 years, which will be 2057, I'm not sure how many will be here to see that. I doubt that I'll be able to stand up here and explain the contents, but I'll be 100 years old, by the way. So I would hope that I can do that, but I don't think it'll happen. But anyway, in another 40 years, we hope to do the same thing. But those contents are out there, and we hope to get a chance to go out there and take a look and see what's there. I'd like to especially thank Don and Dolly Cassidy and Joyce Hall. I know they had specifically done a lot of work to pull some pictures together, a lot of records, a lot of the things. And I really want to encourage you to take a few minutes to walk and see the things on display outside here in the fellowship hall. I think Julie and Greg and maybe Gary, some people helped put all that together, and Joyce yesterday put all that on a display. And I know Chris has worked to put some video stuff together. There's a lot of people to thank for pulling all this together. But I want you to take some time, look at that. You may see some people there that you recognize. They may look a little different, but that's what they looked like 40 years ago. But please take some time and look at that. And then now I would like to direct your attention to the screens. We're going to have a video here in a second. A lot of these pictures, like I said, I know Don and Dolly had pulled some of these together, so I appreciate their work. Also thank Carolyn Whitaker. She was gracious enough to narrate this for us. So with nothing else said, I'm going to turn it over and let you watch this video. Thank you.
God sent his son. They call him Jesus. He came to love, heal and forgive. He lived and died to buy my pardon. An empty grave is there to prove my Savior lived.
On Sunday, August the 27th, this congregation has been at this location for 40 years. For many years, we had worshiped at the corner of East High Street and Queen Street. Earlier, we were located where Moore's Grocery was on North Queen. In 1970, we had a good problem of being out of space to grow. The sanctuary filled to capacity. We were renting a house for Sunday school classes, parking lot overflowing, and all parking taken on both sides of the street. With that good problem, a search committee was named to look for a suitable location. Harold Staten was named chairman of that committee. He is the only survivor of that committee and is still able to be here to worship with us every Sunday. In 1972, after some weeks of searching, the committee recommended the purchase of 7 acres at this location. There was a 300-foot frontage on US 460. Later, an additional 7 acres became available, which added another 314 feet of front footage. A total of 14 1/100 acres at a cost of $75,000. The land was purchased from the Jewell estate. I might also add, we had some inside info that a bypass would be in the future. That would put us and our land in a prime location. In the meantime, that's 1975, a building fund committee campaign began with a goal of $100,000 in 3 years, and a building committee was named. Billy Joe Hall was named chairman. 2 surviving members still worship here regularly. They are Raymond Stevens and Don Cassidy. The committee contacted Baco Incorporated of Scotts Depot, West Virginia. A construction management contract was signed. We were going to act as our own contractor, doing as much of the work ourselves and contracting out what we could not do. This included the laying of block and bricklaying. The drywall, electrical, painting, carpentry, etc. was done by many volunteers from the congregation. Total cost of the project was $650,000, not including furnishings. We needed to borrow $450,000. Later, we advertised and sold our downtown property for $155,000. In August the 29th, 1976, following the AM service, the congregation left North Queen and High Street Church and came out here and broke ground for the new building. Construction began the next day. There were some delays due to the weather, and we kept on track, and finally, on Sunday, August the 28th, 1977, was set as opening service. An insert was placed in the Mount Sterling Advocate inviting everyone in the community to attend the August the 28th at 2:30 in the afternoon. A 69-member choir, led by Joyce Hall, was to perform that afternoon. A major problem arose. The pews had not arrived. We had been promised a date the week before and installed before the 25th. for our first service. Finally, on Thursday the 25th, they arrived without the installers. We decided to unload and place them in the sanctuary. We reloaded the pews and contacted Montgomery County High School and borrowed 900 chairs. Sunday, August the 28th, 1977, following the AM service at North Queen High, we made our way out here to receive the keys and open the doors to our new facility. That afternoon, Joyce Hall led our choir in Bill Gaither songs for the opening service to a crowd of 996. Lots of folks sacrificed much to make this dream come true by using their talents, time, and funds. Windows, pews, choir chairs, organ, and piano were purchased in memory or in honor of loved ones. This helped keep the cost under $650,000. 11 years later, August the 28th, 1988, a mortgage burning ceremony was held and our $450,000 debt had been paid in full. Over the years, we have added a softball field, daycare, school, family life center, and youth building, and we have added more parking areas. We're thankful to those before us who have made these facilities possible, and today to those who are now serving and praying for future generations who will continue to fulfill our mission to draw people in to discover Christ, to become Christ-like followers, and to deploy to serve in Jesus' name.
Your love never fails, never gives up, never runs out on me. Your love never fails, never gives up, never runs out on me. Your love never fails, never gives up, never runs out on me. Your love. It's higher than the mountains that I face. It's stronger than the power of the grave. And it's constant in the trial and the change. It's a